Alright everyone, we're at Tuesday the 14th of January and we're building ahead to tonight's game. Yes, Celtic are back in action. The game's just coming thick and fast at the moment. Dundee away. How's it going to go? What team are we going to field? What other stuff is happening? We're going to cover all of that stuff today. Should say first of all, sincere apologies for no video yesterday. I was otherwise engaged with, in my opinion, the greatest tennis player of all time. That may be a controversial statement. Personally, I don't think it is. Novak Djokovic, for those of you who don't follow tennis. Very enjoyable time. Australian Open's on here in Melbourne at the moment. But I'm back now and we're talking about Celtic. And there are things to talk about as well. Now, we had press conferences yesterday. Brendan Rodgers, we're going to touch on that. It was the best part of 20 minutes that the manager spoke for yesterday. Don't think there was anything completely earth-shattering during that press conference. I did enjoy him randomly bringing up Ollie Burke near the end. Not just that, though. Young Ollie Burke, who turns 28 in a couple of months. I enjoyed that from Brendan Rodgers. But in terms of really kind of interesting stuff, as I say, I didn't think there was too much. There wasn't really anything new and major that has happened over the past 48 hours to quiz the manager on. It's been a kind of quieter period, although there is some stuff happening. He did speak a bit about Hyun-Jun Yang at the start of the press conference. I think it was one of the first questions, actually. And talked up Yang's effort and what he's bringing the team. 100% effort, he says, you always get with Yang. Didn't think it was exactly a ringing endorsement of Yang's quality, and Brendan Rodgers clearly said that, you need more in a kind of productive sense, more goals, more creating goals, but certainly was positive in terms of what Yang brings the team with his effort. Also asked about Adam Idah, who's now gone 11 games without a goal, and despite that, Brendan Rodgers says he's happy with what he's getting from Adam Idah and what Adam Idah's bringing the team at the moment. Clearly, I think Adam Idah is offering his stuff. I don't think he's having a nightmare at the moment. He's doing good things. Really needs a goal, though, I think, because as the drought goes on, it becomes more of a talking point, and I guess scoring that next goal becomes more of an issue for him. So yeah, that's what we had. Obviously, transfers came up at a point, and Brendan Rodgers was asked about that and the prospect of a big player potentially leaving. Obviously, Kyogo's been the one that's been most talked about. The manager said, with all these what-if scenarios, you have to be prepared. The biggest thing is if a player doesn't want to be here, then go. Then if it's at that point, the club has to get the best possible deal. So I don't ever see the point of keeping someone who doesn't want to be here. For us, it's all eventualities. That's what we prepare for, whether it's injuries, whether it's transfers. You always have to be ready, and that's our message. For Kyogo at this moment in time, he's happy, he's working well, he's scoring goals and enjoying his football. So clearly no development there on that story, or real development on any players coming in. Brendan Rodgers was asked about how many players he's potentially looking to bring in this month. Again, he's not going to give a number for obvious reasons. One of those reasons, I guess, would be that things can change pretty quickly. So nothing new from the manager, not even really any new names that he was quizzed on. Kieran Tierney stuff's gone a little bit quiet. Still think we're going to sign Kieran Tierney. It's kind of the worst kept secret at this stage that he's going to sign on a pre-contract. But in terms of players actually coming in immediately, and again, that could happen with Tierney, but in terms of other players, there's not been a great deal. We have been linked with a few players since we last spoke. A few days ago now, you're going back, we had Sky Sports' Anthony Joseph linking us with the Sarpsborg winger Sondre Ørjasæter. And I did mention his name a few weeks ago, but it had come from a bit of a flimsy source in Norway, but maybe there is something in this. He's a 21-year-old winger playing for Sarpsborg. Seems to be pretty highly rated, but also seems to be a hell of a lot of competition to sign him. So he, I think I've heard 7 million being mentioned potentially, and obviously Celtic can go to that level. We have spent that money, but it tends to be on either players who come with good pedigree and have played in a top 5 league. So you're thinking like Christopher Julian, who I think we spent 7 million on. Obviously Arnie Engels in the summer. Guys who had proven they could handle it in one of the stronger leagues, a stronger league than our own. Or for players who have maybe been on loan and already proven they can do it at Celtic Park. Guys like Adam Ida, Odsonne Edouard. So if it is 7 million we're talking for this player, I don't know, I'd have my doubts whether Celtic would pay that for someone who, as I say, has only really done it in Norway so far. Clearly, if the scouting's good and we think he's worth it, then it could happen. But yeah, it seems like a little bit of a risk. Norway in general seems a little bit hit or miss. You know, do you get the next Erling Haaland or do you get Odin Holm? And that's the big question. Just on Holm, by the way, he has, gone away, I guess. He's moved to LAFC, that's Los Angeles Football Club. They've signed him for the 2025 MLS season. They've got a good few players there you'll have heard of. Olivier Giroud's there, Hugo Lloris as well, and Mateusz Boguts, who we're linked with in the summer. So a good move for Holm. He's going to be away for most of 2025. Don't think he's got much of a future at Celtic. A couple of other players linked with us in the past day or so. Bit of chat about a guy called Mason Melia, who is a 17-year-old Irish striker currently playing for St Patrick's Athletic in the Irish top flight. A lot of hype about him in Ireland. He won the PFA Ireland Young Player of the Year award last season. He's been linked with a whole host of clubs: Liverpool, Crystal Palace, Bologna, teams in Germany, teams in Belgium. The Irish Mirror say that he visited us last week. I would assume we're talking Lennoxtown, Celtic Park. He was also invited to do that at Tottenham Hotspur prior to Christmas as well. So there's clear interest from ourselves and Spurs. He's expected to move on from St Pat's relatively soon. But if he chooses to move to a British club, Brexit rules mean that he can only move when he turns 18. Believe that's like September or October, so that would mean we're probably talking a year from now. So next January's transfer window for potentially signing him. He's the League of Ireland's youngest ever scorer. He did that when he was aged just 15 in June 2023. So very highly rated. I've always personally felt that we should be keeping an eye on the best talent coming out of Ireland, given our links to the country and the fact that there's been a good few players over the years to come through the League of Ireland that we've kind of missed out on for whatever reason. Now, I'm well aware we signed Johnny Kenny recently. I think from the chats here, Melia is apparently, a bit more highly rated than Johnny Kenny, but you only have to look at guys like Evan Ferguson, who moved from the League of Ireland, and we kind of were nowhere to be seen there. So this is interesting. Seems like one for the future in more than one way. I mean, the signing itself isn't going to be made this January, but we're clearly pretty keen on him if we've given him a tour or whatever. So yeah, Mason Melia, remember the name. The other player that's been linked with us is another forward, another relatively young forward, 21-year-old Aston Villa player Louis Barry. He's just been recalled to our upcoming opponents after a pretty successful loan spell at Stockport County. Now, this report comes from Football Insider, and I'm always a bit tentative about bringing their stuff up, bit hit or miss with them. They say that we are keen to sign Barry permanently, but face competition from a number of teams down south. Scoring a lot of goals there, a young player with real potential. He seems to be what you would potentially be looking for as this third striker. Now, Brendan Rodgers was asked yesterday a question about Johnny Kenny and whether he will be that third choice striker, and he kind of sidestepped it, either deliberately or not, but he kind of sidestepped the question and just spoke more about Johnny Kenny's enthusiasm and just generally the fact he loves enthusiasm from young players. He didn't actually answer whether Johnny Kenny was going to be viewed as the third choice striker. Still got my doubts. I still feel like Brendan Rodgers might want to sign someone this month, and someone like Barry might be viewed as a bit of an upgrade on Johnny Kenny, who I thought looked good at the weekend and I want to see more of. But obviously a bit of chat still about Kyogo potentially moving on. So I think the forward position I think there's going to be a bit of toing and froing between now and the start of February when the transfer window ends. So yeah, we'll keep an eye on that. And just generally speaking, this is now January the 14th, so we're almost half of the way into the window. No players signed yet, only a couple have departed the club on loan, Stephen Welsh and Odin Holm now. So not a hell of a lot of business. Certainly expect that to ramp up in the coming weeks. It kind of has to. But it seems like once again we're heading for the end of the window being a relatively frantic time. Don't think it'll be quite as frantic as the summer because we probably only are going to sign a couple of players, maybe 3 if we're lucky. But be good to see Celtic moving on with business pretty quickly. Just the other bit of non-transfer news I wanted to bring you just briefly is that the dates for next season's Premiership season have been released. It's pretty much identical to this season. There's going to be no winter break next year either. That's obviously because the Champions League and Europa League phases are going until the end of January. The Premiership season will start in the first weekend in August. That's the 2nd or 3rd. It will end on the weekend of May the 16th or 17th. Right, more immediate matters. Tonight we go to Dundee in what is our game in hand over most of the league. Rangers Aberdeen tomorrow too will mean that every team has played 23 league games. Now Dundee are 8th in the table, having a decent enough season like the rest of the league. They're kind of struggling for consistency, but yeah, I think it's going to be a good test for the team tonight going away to Dundee. They've got a few players that I really like. I think Mulligan on the right side's a good player. The other guy, Adewemi, who's on loan from Burnley, has done well, scored against Rangers last week. So they've got some talents, but as always with these games, it's about what we bring to the match. Team news-wise, Brendan Rodgers confirmed Nicholas Kuhn is back and available for this game. Great news. Dyson Maeda is a maybe. They're giving him an extra day to kind of prove his fitness. Maybe he'll be on the bench. If he doesn't feature at all, Brendan Rodgers says he'll be fine for Saturday's Scottish Cup clash against Kilmarnock. Lewis Palmer should be available for this one too. And James Forrest still out. But the team should hopefully look a bit more normal. Let's just say we'll actually have wingers available. And as always, Brendan Rodgers will look to keep things pretty fresh. It's a bit of a tough one for him to work out, tough one for me to work out when doing my predicted 11. Because we've got the game tonight, as I say, we then get Kilmarnock at the weekend, and then we're into Young Boys. Will he look to rest a few players at the weekend with Young Boys in mind? But then I've also got in my mind that it may make more sense to rest a few players tonight, even though it's like 8 days before that Young Boys game, because there's not really too much jeopardy in the league for us, as much as we obviously want to keep winning. If we were to drop points tonight, it's not massively going to matter, I don't think. Whereas, you know, if we were to lose on Saturday, obviously the dream of the treble is over. And I think Brendan Rodgers really, really wants a treble this season after missing out last season. So yeah, I think the reality is that we'll probably make a few changes tonight. We'll probably make a few more changes on Saturday, and then we'll be ready to go for the biggest game of the season against Young Boys next Wednesday. This is the team I'm going for tonight. I think this is 4 changes from Saturday and just a bit of freshness there. So Greg Taylor coming back in at left back. I think the 2 midfield places will be changed. So McCowan and Bernardo coming in for Hatate and Engels alongside McGregor. Kuhn should be back in on the right, and that will obviously make a huge difference having our player of the season back. Kyogo back starting up front after a good performance at the weekend. So yeah, clearly that team should be good enough to get the result tonight. And yeah, I think we'll be able to move the ball about as well. I know the Dens Park pitch got a fair bit of criticism last season, a lot of games called off there. Seems a lot better this year. You only have to look at the highlights from the game they played against Rangers last week to see that it was a pretty good surface. A lot better than Dingwall on Saturday. So yeah, I think it's going to be a challenge. We need to be on our game. But I think we will be, and I'm going for a 3-0 Celtic win. There you go. Game is 8 p.m. kickoff, local time. It's live on Sky Sports. The officials tonight, referee is Don Robertson, assistants Gordon Crawford and Alistair Mather, VAR is Andrew Dallas, assistant VAR Andrew McWilliam. Two more wee things for you just before I go. I did get an email from Celtic to say that a limited number of tickets for next week's Champions League clash against Young Boys will go on sale, general sale, this morning. That's Tuesday, the 14th of January from 10 a.m. Tickets priced at £60. Pretty steep, but it's a big game. I've no doubt the game is obviously going to sell out. So if you're looking for a ticket or two for that match, give that a go. Celtic ticketing website. Log on just before 10 a.m. today. Just give you a wee heads up there so you can all hopefully sort your ticket for what's going to be a pretty big match. And just finally, Celtic AM wise, just wanted to draw attention to the fact that every single video you watch is also available as an audio only podcast. Now, more and more people have been coming across this. Get close to 1,000 of you listening to the podcast every single day, and I know it makes it a lot easier for a lot of you. You can listen to all the videos while you go out a run, go to the gym, your commute to work, whatever. But just for any of you, still the majority who haven't come across this, if you fancy it and want to go onto your podcast app of choice and search for Celtic AM, you'll be able to find all of our episodes available as audio only podcasts. So please give that a go. I will be back tomorrow morning looking back on tonight's game.